Yo, what is up guys? It is Lost Griff. Welcome back to another video. Today's video I'm going to be talking about the difference between Myth and Fire in Wizard101. Now, I'm a committed fire main, have been since 2010, so this is a tough video for me to make. But I was going to kind of talk about something I realized while I was questing my Myth the other day. And I'm just going to lay it out there. I really do feel like Fire is a little bit worse than Myth. For solo questing, and in other regards, I feel like Myth is a little bit stronger simply because of their 7-pip AoE, which I will discuss later on. But let's just go over some similarities between the two because they overall are extremely similar schools in nature, and the real only difference between them is their boosts, their utility, and some of their spells. Okay, so just to start off with simple spells, Fireblade and Mythblade are unlocked between 4 levels of each other. I believe Fire you get around level 8-ish in Wizard City, and then you come back for Mythblade at level 12. And then both actually get their AoE at level 22. I can real quick go into Myth and show you. So as you can see, 22, and I can't show you Fire, but just trust me whenever I say it's 22. I also did some Google searching, and it looks like they both have pretty similar base HP. Some of the gear, especially later on, gives a tiny bit more HP, but in general, it's within like 100, 200, 300 of each other. They never have like a huge HP gap, I would say, during any part of the game, especially if you compare their gear. It's quite similar. And the one thing that I like about Myth is that they do have some minions for early game that actually kind of does help. Like summoning like Golem minion and stuff like that in Crocotopia is actually kind of nice. It can help you kill the mobs a little bit quicker and end up giving you a free 200, 300 damage for 0 pips, which is kind of nice. There's also some of the other 3 or 4 pip minions that could also be casted that might be a good idea. But there is a pro and con that comes with that. Minions do become extremely useless later on, like especially like Celestia and on, they become quite mid, so I don't recommend them past that point, but early in the game they are quite nice. And the difference between the 4-pip AoEs is that Meteor is slightly better, it has slightly higher damage and it's more reliable by a little bit, but it doesn't really matter that big of a difference, because if you're using a Humongo Frog with Monstrous, you should pretty much kill everything. Like Humongo Frog with Blade, Monstrous, and if you have like a little bit of damage, you should kill like most things up till like Dragonspire. But yeah, like I said about the 7-pip AoEs earlier, there's a huge problem between the two. Dragon is much worse than Orthrus for several reasons, right? The main reason is because the biggest and strongest offensive utility in this game is by many accepted to be Feint. Feint essentially for 1 pip gives you what 2 blades would give you, and the only downside about it is that it gives you a 20% or 30% trap to yourself, or 40% if you're using a potent. So ultimately, while you will take a little bit more damage, Feint is going to save you a lot more time in the long run, and whenever you run out of different blades to use, you always have feints you can use. Yo, I just wanted to stop the video real quick to make sure that you are subscribed to the Lost Griff channel. I upload almost every single day, and I try to stay as active as I can on my YouTube. So I'd appreciate if you guys dropped a sub, because only this amount of people are actually subscribed to my channel. So real quick, before this intermission ends, I'd appreciate if you guys go drop a sub real quick. Anyway, back to the video. Now the difference between these two while enchanted is Dragon at max enchant, which is epic, goes up to 690 and 585, while Orthrus goes up to 1000. And so while you might think, oh wow, that makes Fire better, right? It actually doesn't. And there's a reason for this. Is the most common form of hitting is 2 blades 3 feints or 3 blades 2 feints, right? This kills most mobs in the game, and you can even go slower buffs than that if you have higher damage, or if you have better stats, you can always just, you know, go around that route too, or if you boost on them, and etc. Right? Now, here's the math that I did, right? So I went under the assumption that for some reason they had the epic enchant with 100 damage, right? But I mean, they could have 150, they could have 125, and they could still apply the same, right? So Orthrus does 1000 damage while enchanted with 300. And so if you do the multiplication, now this is how you multiply damage. You use, let's say you have 100 damage, it'll be 2.0, and then a feint would be 70, and then a TC feint would be 70. You have a 35 blade and a 35 blade. This all adds up to approximately 10.5k is what I got after the math. Now, this is not including crit. You could also include crit, but generally their crit is pretty much the same. So again, it would yield you the exact same result. Now, Dragon, 690 times 2.0 times 1.7 times 1.7, which again would be feint and TC feint, and then times 0.35 or 1.35 times 1.35, which would be 2 blades, would equal 7.2k. Now, you might think, well, the OT is going to make up for it, right? Well, it does, don't get me wrong. If you add the OT to it, it makes it total up to about 9.3k. You might think that's only a 1,000 difference. That's not that big of a deal. But the problem is that you're often going to be using more feints than you are blades in PvE. As soon as you unlock the potent trap, you're going to be spamming feints like nothing else, especially if you have the odd pip deck. So you're going to expect to have 2 blades, 3 feints up every single time to kill opponents. Even maybe 2 blades, 2 feints. That's what I'm saying is that you want to kill your opponent as soon as possible to not waste any round or any turns for no reason. So you'll realize that even though you have this OT that gives them an insanely good DPP on their 7 pip AoE, you'll notice that in PvE it doesn't really help that much, and it frankly isn't really that good to have that AoE DOT. It's just kind of a waste. A big argument a lot of people like to bring up is the Scald Incendiate type thing. But I'm gonna be honest with you, every single time I go on my fire, I usually just end up having a storm on the team hit anyway, because they just frenzy Stormlord, and it usually just is more efficient and doesn't make sure nobody has to go grab their Dahlia hat or even has one in the first place. Even though it's not a fire school only hat, still it's not used very often, and I don't really come across many people who offer to use it, which is kind of weird because I feel like Scald Incendiate is one of the most OP combos in the game, if not the most OP combo in the game. And I feel like people use it more often. This video would be totally flipped around, so I just want that to be perfectly clear. Alright guys, and that's it for today. Hope you guys enjoyed today's commentary video. Probably a PvP video coming out tomorrow for y'all. I've been enjoying this PvE type stuff, but make sure if you have any concerns, comments, or disagreements, make sure you leave them down below. And if you aren't subbed to the channel yet, I don't know what you're doing, bro. We're trying to hit 1K subs by the end of this year, so hopefully we can do that. And yeah, thank you guys so much for the support. Have a good rest of your day. Peace out.
Bye.